Hello, everyone. The clip you're about to hear is from one of our exclusive Patreon episodes on a recent horror release, and just like all of our other episodes, it might include major spoilers for said horror release, so don't listen to it if you haven't already seen it. You've officially been warned. And if you'd like to hear the full episode, just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers and subscribe today. Without further ado, here is your exclusive Patreon clip.
Okay, so thoughts on Dina and Sam?
So I will confess, I actually don't find these characters that compelling. I'm don't get me wrong. I am really happy that we have like a queer couple as the protagonists of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Sam is really given enough to do.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a problem where she's a bit of a MacGuffin. Like, she becomes the object that they have to protect, and then she becomes possessed for the rest of the films.
Which I'm like, okay, cool, that's kind of fun, but all she does is really just thrash around and go, rawr, rawr.
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, it's fine. I wasn't like, oh my god, I want these two to be together so bad. And I think that was maybe a big issue, like why 1994 also didn't resonate with me as much. Don't get me wrong, I still like 1994 quite a bit. But with Dina, so Dina's had a lot of hate come her way. And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
To an extent, I get it. Because I'm like, okay, yes, like, basically these ghosts only want to kill Sam so we can sacrifice Sam and let everyone else live. And unfortunately that's not what happens because we lose two of Dina's friends in exchange for saving Sam.
Yeah.
And I think people are just like, oh, she's really selfish, she doesn't care about her friends, she doesn't grieve her friends, which is very true. And I even in the third one, like we kind of just gloss over her mourning period over her friends.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I've seen all of the complaints.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me is mildly concerned because this is like very clearly a biracial lead. She's a lesbian, out and proud. Yes, she's sullen. Have you met anyone who grew up in the 90s and listened to like rock music? I understand where people's concerns are coming from, but this comes back to the weird issue of, ooh, she's unlikable. Ooh, I don't like her. And I'm like, I don't know that she's meant to be the most likable person. She's going through a fucking breakup and she's a teenager.
Well, okay. So, and with the breakup, it's like, okay, so Sam's parents got divorced. Sam had to move to Sunnyvale with her mom. There is like a fight at that football game and Dina's like, oh, you chose. And it's a little irrational, but here's my thing.
Yeah. Have you met a teenager?
A gay, biracial teenager in
Ohio.
1994.
Yeah.
Like, teenagers are generally not likable.
No.
Like, they have flaws. They are selfish. And I can promise you right now that if I was an out teenager in 1994, I would absolutely want to save my girlfriend, who is probably the only person that the only other queer person that I think I'll have for the rest of my life.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the work done in these early scenes for me showcases what Dina is actually having to go through. She's basically a single mom to her younger brother. We don't ever fucking meet her dad in these three movies, despite the fact that people are getting murdered around her. So that I just feel like it's really easy for people to say, oh, I just don't like her, so she's a bitch, and why do we have her as the lead? I'm like, she's a real character to me.
And yes, I mean, flawed, sure, but I don't think that makes her unlikable. Like, I would. No. I will stand by, like, I was never fully compelled by the relationship between Dina and Sam, but I was never for once like, oh god, they are insufferable, let them die.
Yeah. And also the accusations of, oh, well, they let other people die so that they could save one person. It's like, have you seen a horror film?
Yeah.
This happens all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And I think I'm taking it a little more personally because it is a biracial queer character at the front and center, and I feel like we don't hear these kinds of comments being directed at, I don't know, let's say any of the characters from recent slasher films.
I mean, okay, so, you know what? You know who had those same accusations? Was Tree from Happy Death Day. I mean, like, not from the gays. We loved her, but but no, a lot of actually straight men I saw were really hating on Tree because she's too much of a bitch. She's too unlikable, and I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, is it a fuck her thing? Like, you don't find her as fuckable because she's not, like, a perfect vision of what you want?
I mean, it's also like, who says the final girl has to be this perfect, pristine lady?
Exactly.
So I do think more character work could be done, but I don't know if you could like really like make comments on what it's like to be queer in the 90s without like slowing down the pace a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Adding to the runtime. And these movies are already long enough as it is. And I don't mean that really as a huge negative. And I double checked today. 1994 actually ends at the 99-minute mark. So it's not as long as I thought it was.
Right.
But I still think that each of these movies could easily have 10 minutes trimmed for them.
Hello, I'm Shelby Scott, the host of Scare You to Sleep, a podcast where I tell you spooky bedtime stories full of creepy sound effects and music that is soothing yet unsettling to help immerse you into a world of horror. This is a show for those of us who have realized horror can be a strange but relaxing escape from reality. Speaking of escapes, sometimes I lead you through guided nightmares, like a guided meditation, but instead of flowery meadows, I take you on a journey through your own personal nightmare. So come get lost in the terror with me. Listen to Scare You to Sleep wherever you listen to podcasts, or find us online at bloody.fm. Sweet screams.